America just got benched. Hard. Trump told everyone, buy our weapons. But Canada straight up said no and inked a massive deal with Europe instead. We're talking about $244 billion in weapons contracts with just a $10.8 million entry fee. That's it. That's all it took for Canada to grab a seat at Europe's defense table. Meanwhile, the UK tried to hop into the same program, but when Europe demanded €6.5 billion, the UK backed off fast. So now, guess who's sitting where America thought it ruled? Canada. The same country Trump kept mocking as the 51st state. And this is just the start. Because what Canada's doing next to America's biggest fighter jet deal is even more brutal. The whole program is called Security Action for Europe, a colossal €150 billion fund packed with low-interest defense loans. But here's the catch. Every single contract has one unbreakable rule. 65% of every weapon system must be built inside Europe. That means Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and General Dynamics out. These three US giants, normally running the global weapons market, just got locked out completely. 8 EU nations already got their loans approved on February 11th. Just 3 days later, Canada made its move at the Munich Security Conference. Defense Minister David McGuinty signed the deal that shocked everyone. Canada became the first non-European country in history to join the program. Normally, countries outside the EU are stuck with a 35% production cap, but Canada flipped the table hard. They negotiated an 80% share. That means 80% of every weapons contract can be built inside Canadian factories. No other outsider pulled that off. Not Australia, not Japan, not even South Korea. That's massive. Canadian jobs, Canadian factories, Canadian cash staying home. Former Bank of England Governor Mark Carney said it himself. For decades, 75 cents of every defense dollar Canada spent went straight to the United States. 75 cents for 70 years. But not anymore. Canada's defense budget this year sits at $62.7 billion, with a 5-year commitment hitting $81.8 billion. By 2035, they're pledging 5% of GDP to defense. Just last year, that meant $763 per person, and now it's shooting up to $1,263. At 5% of GDP, Canada is about to outspend almost everyone on defense per person except the US. Under the old setup, every Canadian household was basically cutting a yearly check for $1,917 straight to American defense contractors. Your cash ending up in Virginia, Texas, and Alabama factories. But here's the shakeup. If even 30% of that future spending shifts toward European and Canadian suppliers, the blow to American defense giants will be brutal. We're talking billions in lost contracts and tens of thousands of US manufacturing jobs tied to Canadian orders on the chopping block. After 70 years of steady payments, Canada just slammed the door shut on that account. And the cash isn't even the biggest twist. It's about control. When Canada bought American, the US kept all the intellectual property, the designs, the blueprints, the software, the upgrades, everything. Canada just got the finished gear. But now, under the new European setup, that script flips. Canadian engineers are working shoulder to shoulder with French and German teams, and this time, the tech stays in Canada, for good. Canada's industry ministers said it straight. We control our defense investments. We choose who gets the contracts. We decide where the jobs go. That's the new policy. Full stop. The proof? It's playing out in real time. Canada had ordered 88 F-35 fighter jets worth $27 billion, America's biggest defense export deal with its closest ally. But out of the 88 jets, only 16 were delivered and 72 are now frozen. While those F-35s sit in limbo, Sweden stepped up with a surprise counteroffer. 72 Gripen jets to be built right in Quebec. That's 12,600 Canadian jobs on the table. Those paychecks used to go straight to Texas and Georgia, but under Sweden's proposal, they'll now land in Montreal and Quebec City. An Ecos poll even showed that most Canadians now prefer the Swedish jet. Back in 2021, the F-35 dominated with 95%, while the Gripen barely hit 33%. The public's opinion has flipped completely, and the reason? Even Trump admitted that the F-35 sold to allies are downgraded. At Davos, the Finnish Prime Minister dropped a bombshell. Finland can't even fly its F-35 jets without US authorization. Imagine that. You spend billions on the most advanced fighter jet on Earth, and the country that sold it to you still holds the off switch. That revelation hit hard. This isn't some random event. It's the fourth move in a long, carefully planned sequence. Move 1. The China trade deal. Tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles dropped from 100% to just 6%. While America was busy building walls, Canada was opening new trade routes. Move 2. The defense spending explosion. $81.8 billion over 5 years and a new defense investment agency to speed up contracts. Move 3. The EU security partnership signed in June 2025. That deal laid the legal groundwork for everything that followed, including the massive European defense program known as SAFE. Move 4. SAFE itself. Canada became the only non-European nation inside Europe's tightly guarded weapons network. At Davos, Mark Carney said, "We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition." The word rupture, like a bone breaking, was the exact term Canada's Prime Minister used on stage at the World Economic Forum. Every single move since that speech has matched that word perfectly. Canada's not backing down, it's doubling down. Everything's out in the open now. The receipts, the money, the kill switch, and that 4-step master plan. Ask yourself, after hearing all that, would you trust your country's defense to a supplier that literally holds the off switch? I want to hear your take on this. Hit that hype button to push this breakdown to others. Your brain's sharp, you catch the details most people miss. But now, let's talk about what nobody else is mentioning. On the exact same day Canada signed the deal, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio was at the Munich Security Conference, February 15th. While Canada was locking in its spot with Europe, Rubio was on the main stage, telling European leaders that Trump demands seriousness and reciprocity. At the exact same time, in the same building, Canada's defense minister was quietly signing the deal that would lock America out. Washington had no idea until it was already sealed. While Marco Rubio stood on stage lecturing Europe about loyalty, Canada was literally joining them. Originally, Mark Carney was supposed to sign it himself, but after a shooting in BC, he cancelled his appearance. Still, the deal couldn't wait. David McGuinty signed it. Carney called it a game changer. And he wasn't exaggerating. SAFE isn't just a policy, it's a proof of concept. If Canada pulls this off, everyone else will follow. Australia, Japan, and South Korea are already exploring their own options. If Australia follows Canada, then Japan follows Australia, and South Korea follows Japan. Who's left buying American weapons? That's a massive hit. We're talking hundreds of billions in future revenue. Gone. Those are factories in Connecticut, shipyards in Virginia, and assembly lines in Texas that could soon be running on empty. If America's allies start building their own weapons, those US jobs vanish fast. For over 70 years, American global power rested on one quiet truth: allies needed American weapons. But that truth just shattered. And here's why this shift is permanent. Once a country builds its own factories and trains its own engineers, that setup doesn't just vanish because a new president asks nicely. Those 12,600 Canadian jobs in Quebec, they're not moving back to Texas. The Gripen production line isn't getting packed up. It's staying right where it is. That door isn't just closing, it's locked shut. Canada didn't prove this point with speeches, it proved it with a $244 billion signature. The biggest irony, Trump wanted Canada to become more dependent on the US, but instead, he created the push for independence. He wanted control, he got resistance, he wanted the 51st state, but he ended up with a neighbor arming itself with European weapons. Every tariff, every insult, every mocking comment only drove Canada further away. And now, you're seeing what few people will understand for months. This isn't just some trade disagreement, this is the turning point. The exact moment when America's closest allies finally said, "We don't need your weapons anymore. America, you're fired." The world just flipped the script and Canada was only the first to make the move. If you think this was bold, just wait, because Canada's not alone. Other allies are already in on it, signing some of the biggest defense deals in modern history, and they're doing it without America at the table. The balance of power is shifting fast, and the countries once seen as junior partners are now building their own empires of steel, tech, and strategy. The old rulebook is out the window, and Washington's grip on global defense is slipping, one contract at a time. If you want to know who's next, hit play on the video that's on your screen right now. It breaks down exactly which nations just joined the new alliance. Don't miss this one because the story isn't over yet. Subscribe to Canada Today 13 and stay ahead of the next global shakeup. If you value clear, independent Canadian analysis, make sure to subscribe and stay informed. Leave a comment below with your city. We want to know where our viewers are watching from. Thanks for watching Canada Today 13. We'll see you in the next breakdown. Stay sharp. This report was brought to you by Canada Today 13, your home for bold stories and clear, independent analysis. Subscribe now and never miss an update on the stories that matter most to Canada's future. See you next time.